What's going on, everybody? Today we have got a very unique video here on the channel. I am doing tactics pretty differently here on the channel going forward. Today is a tactical masterclass with Everton's David Moyes. Since taking over at Everton, he has not only helped them get out of a relegation threatened zone, but he is dominating his way out of it with that Everton side. So much so that they are now already above Manchester United in the table. And also, since he took over, Everton are one of the best point-getting teams within the league, which definitely bangs home that David Moyes is doing something right with the system that he is currently implementing with that Everton side. So, in today's video, we're going to do our best to kind of break it down, do some analysis of why it is working so darn well, and of course, recreate it within FM. But that's not the only thing that we will be doing in today's video. Not only will you get the David Moyes tactic recreation today, but you will also get kind of a variation of what I would like to see as well, but also having a full season sim with the David Moyes tactic with a few transfers in there as well that I think could help Everton come next season. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. So we're going over David Moyes' tactic first. Now he implements a 4-2-3-1 as we can see here, right here on screen. This was the two sides from the Merseyside derby, and it lines up as a 4-2-3-1. As does Liverpool. However, Liverpool likes to utilize wingers, and when they initially set up, Everton that is, they have 3 number 10s. However, this tactic honestly is not a 4-2-3-1. At least that's not what it ends up shaping out to be. Now, with Liverpool, we usually play, as I'm a Liverpool fan, we usually play a 4-2-3-1 or it shapes into a 4-3-3. However, you get the kind of false 4-2-3-1 here with David Moyes' side, because actually what it ends up doing is Mykolenko is going to end up moving up, playing like a wingback, pretty aggressive wingback. Braithwaite is going to move over, Tarkowski moves centrally, and O'Brien also moves in like an inverted fullback. However, these 3 10s, you're going to have Lindstrom move over and drop. He is essentially going to be playing like a defensive winger. That is the closest I could kind of replicate what he does to within FM. So that is kind of what we're going to have him doing with the David Moyes tactic, because Lindstrom dominates this entire space here, but also will cut inside and go for a goal, which means that Doucouré moves over and Ndiaye also moves over. If there was a way to actually get it exactly like this with a 4-2-3-1 with 3 10s, have it kind of work exactly how it does in reality with David Moyes' side, it'd be great. But with FM24, we kind of have some limitations, so I had to improvise a little bit. But with this tactic, it is very, very good. It's very hard to stop. They have numbers in attack. They have numbers in defense. Because like I said, Mykolenko, he is an aggressive wingback. So in attack, he is going to be moving up. You're also going to have the 2 10s. Ndiaye, though, is kind of like a shadow striker in a way, but definitely still just an aggressive attacking midfielder, so he will be attacking as well. And Doucouré, he's more of a support role. He will get into the dirty business. He will be a little bit aggressive. He will try and go for goal as well. But recently, that has been Beto's job for sure. Then you also have Lindstrom, like I said. He's kind of that defensive winger. He is also going to be moving forward in the attack. So you have 5 up in attack, and in defense, you will also have the 5 back. So in defense, you'll have Mykolenko back, Lindstrom back, and say Liverpool is on the attack. You're going to have Diaz coming up, Gakpo, Sobo, as well as Salah, Maka, as well as Gravenberch are also going to be moving up. But Everton had the numbers to defend against us, and they made life very, very difficult. They've done a very good job of doing that so far with this David Moyes system that he is implementing. It is not easy for any team to break them down. They are getting some very good results, such as the 2-2 draw with Liverpool. Once again, going back to how Everton is on the attack, essentially Liverpool is able to match them man for man except for Beto. Beto was able to get open. Now, also, you've got Idrissa Gana Gueye coming up, and you also have Garner coming up. Now, Gravenberch and McAllister are going to obviously have to either mark one of them or end up marking Beto. And that, at all times, has been leaving at least one player open to move the ball around and play off of in the Everton side, which is why they've been able to do so darn well. But then, of course, we also have the back three coming up. So you'll have Braithwaite coming up, you'll have Tarkowski coming up, and you'll have O'Brien coming up. They're going to kind of act as that kind of safety umbrella for the side, because Mo's going to do his job, so is Sobo, as is Gakpo. They're going to try and help defend as well, as is Diaz right here, if it lets me grab him. Diaz is also going to do that. But say Liverpool win the ball. On the counter, Diaz is going to be pretty dangerous because he can hit on a run, and Salah can hit on that run out wide, because a lot of this season, what we've been seeing is, say Van Dijk wins the ball, Van Dijk will hit a long ball up to Salah, and Salah is gone. Now, Everton did a pretty darn good job of eliminating that threat. But then you have a player like Trent Alexander-Arnold come on for Bradley, and then it gets even more difficult to try and stop that, which it got pretty difficult for them to try and stop Salah, and of course he ended up doing pretty well in that game. Now, there's one great bonus to this system that David Moyes has been implementing with Everton. With the amount of players they are throwing forward, it is very hard to stop it, because Liverpool could man mark, which they did at certain times throughout the game. You got Gravenberch on Idrissa Gana Gueye, for example. You have Sobo on Garner, and then you have McAllister on Beto. However, on the counter, with the amount of players countering you at that time, to where it is a 5-on-4, it becomes pretty dangerous. Someone can get loose, or even if it's on a set piece, someone can get loose, because you're going to have a lot of players up for either the set piece or on the counter. Someone is going to be open at some point and create a dangerous chance. And we saw that quite a few times throughout the match. And it ultimately, at the end, led to Everton also tying up the game through James Tarkowski. Yes, it was a part of a set piece, but still, it led to a goal because of the sheer number of players they were throwing forward. So, in recreating this tactic to the best of my ability, how did it do performance-wise? Everton actually did pretty darn well with this David Moyes system. Now, with testing, I unfortunately have the 6-point deduction. That's just how it is. It's kind of hard-coded into the game. But despite the 6-point deduction, if we didn't have it, we would have finished in second to Liverpool by 2 points. Now, we also were runners-up in the FA Cup, and we won the Carabao Cup as well. When looking at the numbers, pretty solid. It's nothing too crazy because, I mean, Everton don't have a bunch of all-stars. They just have a well-rounded team right now that is fortunately helping them get the results that they need to kind of claw their way out of that relegation zone, which, like I covered earlier, they aren't just clawing their way out of the relegation zone. They are dominating their way out of it with the system. But number-wise, they are doing pretty solid, and it helped them do very well. But when it comes to the numbers that players were putting up, it was pretty impressive. The focal point of the tactic is, of course, going to be the striker. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin did not disappoint. He had 58 goals in 50 matches. You got Jesper Lindstrom, even though he will be playing as a defensive winger, he still had 19 goals. You got Braithwaite with 13 due to set pieces. You got Ndiaye, Garner, both with 11. Doucouré with 10, even though he was the more supportive role. Ndiaye, the more attacking role. And of course, when we get to the assists, you've got James Garner. Now, he is going to be playing as a Segunda Volante, which we will see here in a moment. And he was absolutely unbelievable with his playmaking ability. Vitaly Mykolenko, though, once again, that aggressive wingback with 21 assists. And Lindstrom, not only with 19 goals as a defensive winger, but 21 assists as well. And Ndiaye also with 10 assists. Now, anyone looking to download any tactics here from the channel or any downloads in the future of the channel, all of those will be available to YouTube members and Twitch subscribers. All Twitch subs and YouTube members will not only have access to my tactics, but any set pieces that I do in the future, training schedules, rebuild files, whatever it may be, anything that is downloadable will be accessible to those who are either a Twitch sub or a YouTube member. And for those that wish to be a YouTube member or Twitch sub at either Tier 2 or Tier 3, you will get a print of your save. Yes, a 5-year outlook, 4-year save to help you reach the goals and immortalize your saves. They cover everything from your best 11 and your tactic, and if there needs to be tweaks, what transfer targets you should go after, and of course, the 5-year outlook. So if you wish to become a member and have access to everything that I just discussed, then I will have a link down below in the description for those of you who wish to join. And if you are interested in one of the prints, but you don't want to do the Tier 2 or Tier 3 membership, then definitely feel free to hit me up and we can discuss about getting you one. But now, let's go ahead and get into the tactic. And now we get into the tactic itself here on FM, and like I just mentioned to all you, tactic downloads are now available to anyone in the Discord that is either a YouTube member or Twitch subscriber. If you are neither, please feel free, just copy over the tactic from today's video. I'm about to go over all the roles and all the instructions for everyone. So we have got Gormy's 4-2-3-1 Moyes effect. We have got an advanced forward up top. We have an attacking midfielder on attack as the left number 10 and an attacking midfielder on support as the right number 10. We have that defensive winger on support, which, yes, you're probably thinking this is actually lining up as a 4-3-2-1. When I lined it up actually in game, it did say it was a asymmetric 4-2-3-1. But then we also have a Segunda Volante on support, ball in midfielder on support, wing back on attack, an inverted fullback on defend, 2 ball playing defenders on defend, and a sweeper keeper on defend. With the advanced forward on attack, the only instructions I have added to him was dribble more. For the attacking midfielder on attack, we have crosses aimed at center, dribble more, shoot more often, roam from position, move into channels, and tackle harder. The attacking midfielder on support has crosses aimed at center, dribble more, roam from position, move into channels, tackle harder. That defensive winger on support has cross from the byline and crosses aimed at center. Segunda Volante on support has dribble more, move into channels, tackle harder. Ball in midfielder on support has dribble more and tackle harder. And one thing I want to highlight right here really quickly, so with the attacking midfielder on support and Segunda Volante on support, say you're wanting to kind of switch up where some of these roles are in the tactic. Say you have a better defensive winger on the left than the right, then all you got to do, obviously, move that defensive winger from the right to the left. And then the Segunda Volante on support and attacking midfielder on support need to be on the same side. It is a very good combo having them on the same side due to the attacking midfielder on support not being as aggressive as the attacking midfielder on attack. And even though the Segunda Volante on support is on that support duty, it's still pretty aggressive. So they will get further forward than the attacking midfielder on support at times. So making sure that you have these two on the same side and then the attacking midfielder on attack and the ball winning midfielder on support on the same side is going to be pretty important. Now that wing back on attack has crossed more often, crosses aimed at center, dribble more, stay wider, and tackle harder. The inverted fullback on defend was left unchanged, as were both ball playing defenders on defend. And that sweep keeper on defend was also left unchanged. Now, when it comes to the mentality used with this tactic, it is a balanced mentality. Feel free to go positive and or attacking if you are a better side, but if you're a side like Everton, going balanced is going to give you the best of both worlds. Now, when we're in possession, we have standard attacking width. We're looking for overlapping runs from that wingback on attack. We are playing out from the defense as well. We work the ball into the box using low crosses in the final third, standard passing directness, and slightly higher tempo. When in transition, we counter press and counter, distributing quickly to the fullbacks and center backs. Once out of possession, we have a mid block for our line of engagement and a much higher defensive line with more often trigger press. This tactic, very, very good, very solid. Definitely feel free to kind of pause as you go, rewind if you need to copy over everything for those of you that wish to give this tactic a go. But now we're going to go ahead and move on to my version of the David Moyes system. So my system for David Moyes' Everton is the 3-4-2-1. I straight up just start with what his 4-2-3-1 ends up shaping into. And one of the main changes will be that Lindstrom, who usually, honestly, is playing as a 10 in midfield or on the wing and the majority of sides that he plays in, He has been playing, like I said, like a defensive winger, but I'm going to play him as a wingback on attack, like with Mykolenko over here on the left. And once again, this is going to be a tactic that has a lot of numbers going forward. So you will have a vast majority of the players up in attack, to where you essentially have a front line of 5, especially once we get around this area, because both are going to be instructed to cross from the byline. So you have Ndiaye in the box, Beto in the box, Doucouré probably right around here. Garner will once again be a segundo volante, and you'll have Gay up here as well, with Braithwaite, Tarkowski, as well as O'Brien. So a lot of numbers forward. There'll be a lot of numbers back as well. It's not all too different from the David Moyes 4-2-3-1 that you guys just saw. There's a lot of familiarity with the roles and some minor tweaks here and there. So when it comes to the system that I created, what did it allow David Moyes' side to do? Well, they won the league despite the point deduction. And if they didn't have the point deduction, they would have finished on 94 points. And they also won the FA Cup. Unfortunately, going out in the 4th round of the Carabao Cup to Coventry City. But I mean, doing a double with this Everton side on a point deduction is absolutely insane. And when it comes to the data, a tiny bit better offensively, but definitely better defensively, being that we essentially are trying to have that 5 in the back at all times. When it comes to player production, this allowed the striker to be even more potent. Dominic Calvert-Lewin had 70 goals in 47 games, because they did end up playing fewer games, but 70 goals in 47 games is just absolutely absurd. But Abdoulaye Doucouré had 16, James Gardner, segundo volante once again in this system with 14. Assist-wise, you're going to have Mykolenko with 26, Garner with 14 and 14. That's a pretty good season right there. Nathan Patterson with 13 and Ndiaye with 10. So some pretty good production here out of the side. And then here we are with the tactic. Once again, feel free, copy everything over if you wish to do so. I'm going to go over all of it in depth here for you. It is Gormy's 3-4-2-1 Blue Boys. And this, like I said, has a lot of the same roles, but a few minor tweaks. So we've got the advance forward on attack up top still. Same with the 10 roles. We got an attacking midfielder on attack on the left, attacking midfielder on support on the right, ball winning midfielder on support with a segundo volante in support. But then the wingbacks on attack are complete wingbacks on support. I did have them both as wingbacks on attack, both as complete wingbacks on attack, and complete wingback on support actually worked the best. But then we have got the ball-playing defenders on defend, flat back 3 right there, and the sweeper keeper on defend as well. The advanced forward on attack this time around did not have dribble more added on to it. The attack midfielder on attack has crosses aimed at center, dribble more, shoot more often, roam for position, and move into channels. Attack midfielder on support has crosses aimed at center, dribble more, roam for position, move into channels. Ball winning midfielder on support has dribble more. Segundo volante on support has dribble more, move into channels, and tackle harder. Both complete wingbacks on support have cross more often, crosses aimed at center, dribble more, and tackle harder. The outside ball playing defenders have stay wider on them, so that right ball playing defender and the left ball playing defender both have stay wider. The central one was left as is, and that sweep keeper on defend was also left as is. This tactic was once again played with a balanced mentality. It gives you the best of both worlds, to where you are defensive as well as attacking, and you can definitely bump it up with positive or attacking mentalities if you are a better side, but for a side kind of like Everton, going balanced is the perfect one to do. When in possession this time around, not that many instructions. We've got standard attacking with, play out from the defense, work the ball into the box using low crosses in the final third, standard passing directness and slightly higher tempo. When in transition, counter press and counter, distributing quickly to the center backs. And once out of possession, we have a mid-block line of engagement, much higher defensive line, and more often trigger press. So once again, for everyone that is not a member yet, definitely feel free to copy over the tactic with all the roles, all the instructions for yourselves. Go back, pause the video if you need to, rewind it in certain bits if you need to as well. But now we're going to go ahead and move on to the simulation, the one-season simulation with the David Moyes tactic with some transfers that I've made. So going into this simulation with these transfers, we ended up having around £54 million, but ended up selling 2 players, helped us a little bit. One of them was Michael Keane because I just didn't see using him within this system really. And the other was Dwight McNeil because I simply just did not want to retrain him to play as a 10. Made around $26 million between the two of them to add on to what we already had, and then I got to business on bringing in some players that I think could definitely fit this Moyes system. One was securing Jesper Lindstrom on a permanent transfer because he was on loan from Napoli. I then wanted to get Weston McKennie. I think he would have been perfect for this system, but instead he went to Bayer Leverkusen, so I settled for another American with Malik Tillman. He's going to be a very good 10 for us. I then went and got another player that can play as a 10. He was actually transfer listed by AS Roma, Matthias Schüller. I think that a youngster like him, and obviously Roma would probably not transfer list him in reality, but I think a youngster like Matthias Schüller could do wonders for Moyes' side. And due to Idrissa Gana Gueye getting older as well as Abdoulaye Doucouré, I went and got Amadou Haidara. I think with the versatility that he has, he's going to be very, very good for the midfield area. And then I went and got 3 depth options at left back, defensive winger, as well as center back. The center back was transfer listed Beraldo from PSG. The left back was youngster and transfer listed Luka Netz from Borussia Mönchengladbach. And the backup defensive winger was transfer listed Riddle Baku from RB Leipzig. Now I did end up spending a little over $100 million because I was doing this with installments, but I think with the players that we brought in, and this now being the strongest 11 with some of them even being plugged in, such as Lindstrom being here on a permanent. Now you got Haidara being that ball-winning midfielder with James Gardner as well, and then Schüller and Tillman plugged into those 10 roles. We've got Baku off the bench. We got Netz off the bench as well as Beraldo. Some other players there that have already been at the club. This is a very good side that can help Moyes' side once again compete for a title, because they did, despite the point deduction with that test, finished second to Liverpool. So hopefully they can have a pretty good season again, maybe add a trophy. So we're going to go ahead and simulate this season and see how, with those transfers, if it helps this tactic do even better. So during this simulation, we would actually end up starting off pretty alright. One of the new boys, Malik Tillman, would get us going early against Manchester United, which we would win 3-1. And we would also end up winning the first Merseyside derby of the season by a score of 2-1. The first goal would come from Matthias Schüller, and the second would come on a corner from Mr. Jake O'Brien. We would also end up qualifying for the Champions League thanks to coefficients based upon where we finished in testing, and we would end up having our biggest result against PSG in what would end up being a 4-0 thrashing, which was just absolutely unbelievable. We would also end up going on an incredible FA Cup run, which would feature some big results, but none bigger than a 13-0 win over Plymouth Argyle. That is correct, a 13-0 win in an FA Cup match, which is just absolutely absurd and proves how darn good this side is with this David Moyes system. We would also be in a league title race with Liverpool until the very end. Unfortunately, we had a slip up, causing us to lose the league by 2 points. But we would end up capping off what would end up being a pretty darn good season with a FA Cup win over Leicester City by a score of 4-1, thanks to a brace from one of our signings, Malik Tillman, who had a very, very solid season. The team played great as a whole, but Malik Tillman really proved his worth. So there we have that simulation. We ended up losing out on the league by 2 points. Back-to-back seasons where Liverpool wins the league on 84 points, and we technically go back-to-back on 82 points as well. We got knocked out early on in the Champions League, but still had a pretty memorable game against PSG. Won the FA Cup, got knocked out in the quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup. Still pretty solid season, I would say. And this time around, Dominic Calvert-Lewin didn't have to score 58 goals. He did still score 49 goals, but got some more help from others, like 22 from Jared Braithwaite. He had 17 from Matthias Schüller, one of the new signings, 12 from Malik Tillman, and you had 10 from James Garner. Assist-wise, you got Lindstrom and Mikolenko leading the way, 24 and 21. Shula with 18. You have James Gardner with 16. Once again, from the data, still pretty darn good, pretty solid. If they can get some better players here at Everton, I think they're going to absolutely dominate with a system like this under David Moyes. But there we have it for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy something a bit different for sure. I wanted to kind of make my tactic videos way different than they have been. I think that the way that a lot of the tactic videos go are kind of boring. I wanted to make it a little bit more educational, a little bit more fun, give you guys two different tactics, but along with a simulation of some transfers as well. I think that was a pretty fun way of doing things. If you did like this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribing is 100% free, so on that sub button. If you wish to become a member as well, I'll be linking that down below in the description also. I'm going to be doing another video just like this next week, and I will be doing it with Atletico Madrid and Diego Simeone. If there are any other managers or clubs you guys would like to see me do this sort of style with, then let me know down below in the comments. Let me know if you guys want some more Prem teams, some Bundesliga teams, whoever it may be. I would love to keep on doing this sort of style with the tactic videos. But there we have it, folks. Until next time, everybody, have a good one. Bye-bye.